Captain Hyun-woo was reviewing supply reports on the Earth colony ship New Horizon when the emergency communication came through. His navigator, Ji-sung, looked pale as he delivered the message. "Captain, we're receiving a priority alert from Ambassador So-ra. She says the aliens have turned hostile and we need to prepare for immediate departure." Hyun-woo frowned. The last reports from the Confederation station had been positive. Trade negotiations were progressing well, and several alien species had expressed interest in cultural exchanges with Earth. "Are you sure this isn't some kind of mistake?" he asked. "No, sir. The message is authenticated and marked as highest priority. Ambassador So-ra says all human ships should leave Confederation space immediately." Before Hyun-woo could respond, his communications officer Ji-won called out from her station. "Captain, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout this system. Dozens of alien fleets are moving into formation around us." On the main screen, space lit up with the engine signatures of hundreds of warships. Ships of every design imaginable were converging on the human vessels. Crystalline dreadnoughts, organic-looking bioships, mechanical constructs that defied easy description. "This is War Marshal Grixtal of the Galactic Confederation Defense Force," a voice announced over all communication channels. "Vessels of the Death World known as Earth, you are ordered to surrender immediately. Comply or face destruction." Hyun-woo stared at the screen in confusion. Death World? What are they talking about? His answer came from another human ship in the convoy. Captain Du-young commanded the escort vessel Guardian, one of Earth's few military spacecraft. His face appeared on the communication screen, and his expression was grim. "Hyun-woo, I don't know what happened at the station, but we're looking at the largest fleet mobilization in recorded galactic history. They've got ships from every member species of the Confederation." "But why?" Hyun-woo asked. "We came here in peace. We followed all their protocols." "I don't know," Du-young replied, "but right now we need to focus on survival. Are your engines ready for emergency jump?" Before Hyun-woo could answer, the alien fleet opened fire. The first barrage was clearly intended as a warning, energy beams that passed close to the human ships but didn't make contact. But the message was clear: surrender or die. "All human vessels, this is your final warning," Grixtal announced. "Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Du-young's voice came over the communication channel, calm and steady despite the circumstances. "All human ships, this is Guardian. Ignore the surrender demand, begin evasive maneuvers, and prepare for emergency jump on my signal." "Are you insane?" Hyun-woo shouted. "There are hundreds of them and only 5 of us." "Trust me," Du-young replied. "There's something the aliens don't know about human ship design." The alien fleet moved closer, expecting the humans to surrender in the face of overwhelming odds. War Marshal Grixtal had planned this operation carefully, a show of overwhelming force that would end the Death Worlder threat without significant casualties on either side. But as the alien ships closed in, something unexpected happened. The human vessels suddenly accelerated at rates that should have been impossible for ships of their size. "Impossible!" Grixtal exclaimed as he watched the human ships pull away from his fleet. "Their acceleration is off the charts." What the aliens didn't realize was that human ships were built to the same standards as everything else on Earth, to survive in hostile environments with significant safety margins. The engines they had observed during peaceful operations were capable of far more than humans had revealed. Du-young's ship Guardian moved like a fighter despite being the size of a cruiser. Its weapon systems, designed to protect colony ships from asteroid impacts and space debris, proved surprisingly effective against alien shields. "All ships follow my lead," Du-young commanded. "Remember your training. Stay mobile, target their command vessels, and don't give them time to coordinate their attacks." The battle that followed shocked both sides. The aliens had expected to face primitive Death Worlders armed with crude weapons and simple tactics. Instead, they found themselves fighting opponents who seemed to anticipate their every move. Na-young, the human intelligence officer, had indeed been gathering information about alien military capabilities. But what the Council had interpreted as preparation for conquest was actually defensive analysis. Humans learning how to survive if their new alien friends turned out to be enemies. Their formation is breaking apart. Ji-sung reported from his navigation station. The crystal ships are too slow to keep up with the organic vessels. Exploit that gap, Du-young ordered. All ships concentrate fire on the command cluster. Make them think twice about hunting humans. The human ships moved through the alien formation like predators among prey, striking at weak points and vanishing before the enemy could respond. It was exactly the kind of persistence hunting that humans had perfected over millions of years, adapted now for space warfare. On the Confederation station, General Mordain watched the battle with growing alarm. How are 5 ships holding off an entire battle fleet? They're not fighting like any species we've encountered before, reported his tactical officer. Their ships are more maneuverable than our intelligence suggested, and their tactics are unpredictable. What the aliens were witnessing was human adaptability in action. Earth's military had never fought aliens before, but they had studied every piece of available data and prepared for exactly this scenario. Human tactics were based on one simple principle. Assume your enemy is stronger than you, then find ways to turn that strength into weakness. The Guardian targeted the alien fleet's communication arrays, disrupting their coordination. The colony ships used their industrial fabrication systems to produce makeshift weapons and countermeasures in real time. The human vessels worked together with a precision that spoke of countless hours of training and preparation. Sir, the tactical officer reported, we're losing ships faster than we can replace them. The humans seem to know exactly where to hit us to cause maximum damage. Mordain stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The legendary Death Worlders were supposed to be savage berserkers, not tactical geniuses who could dissect his fleet's weaknesses in real time. But the most shocking discovery came when the aliens tried to jam human communications. Instead of being disrupted, the human ships seemed to coordinate even better, switching to backup systems that the aliens hadn't even detected. They have quantum-encrypted communication networks that we can't penetrate, the communications officer reported in terror. And their ships are sharing tactical data in real time. It's like fighting a single organism with multiple bodies. On the New Horizon, Hyunwoo was beginning to understand what was happening. His ship's computer systems were connected to every other human vessel through networks that had been designed for deep space exploration. Redundant, unbreakable links that allowed isolated human ships to function as a single unit across vast distances. What humans called standard communication protocols were actually the most sophisticated military coordination system the galaxy had ever seen. Captain, Ji-won reported from her station, I'm receiving tactical updates from Guardian. They're highlighting weak points in the alien formation and suggesting attack vectors. How do they know so much about alien ship design? Hyunwoo asked. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Jamin's voice crackled over the communication system from his research vessel. Because we've been studying their technology since we arrived. Everything they showed us, every casual demonstration of their capabilities. We analyzed it all. What the aliens had interpreted as friendly curiosity had actually been intelligence, gathering of the highest order. Humans had a natural talent for understanding how things worked and finding ways to break them. The battle continued for several hours, but the outcome was becoming clear. The human ships were outnumbered but not outmatched. Every alien tactic was countered, every formation was broken, every advantage was turned against them. Finally, War Marshal Grixtal sent a desperate message to the Confederation Council. The Death Worlders are not what we expected. They're not savage berserkers. They're calculating predators who have turned warfare into a precise science. We need reinforcements immediately, or we're going to lose this entire fleet. But the Council's response was not what he expected. Instead of sending more ships, they ordered a full retreat. Fall back to the outer system, came the command from Zalketh. Do not engage the Death Worlders further until we can analyze what went wrong. As the alien fleet withdrew, licking its wounds and trying to understand how they had been outfought by a handful of primitive ships, a new message broadcast across all communication channels. It was Ambassador Sora, speaking from the Confederation. station where she had been placed under protective custody. To all human vessels, this is Ambassador Sora. I don't know why our hosts have turned hostile, but I need you to know. They're calling us Deathworlders and claiming we're some kind of ancient threat to the galaxy. Her message was followed by another voice. Na Young, the intelligence officer, speaking from data she had gathered during her time on the station. All human ships, this is Na Young. And maybe, said Vextar, they're just more patient than their ancestors. Maybe they've Dr. J-Min arrived at the Galactic Confederation station 3 weeks after first contact, carrying with him a collection of what he considered basic human technology. He was excited to share Earth's innovations with their new alien friends and perhaps learn about their advanced sciences in return. Thank you for allowing me to present human technology, J-Min said to the assembled alien scientists. I've brought some of our standard survival and exploration equipment that we thought might interest you. What J-Min didn't know was that every alien in the room had been briefed about humanity's suspected true nature. They watched him with the careful attention of prey animals studying a predator. This is a basic human survival shelter, J-Min explained, unfolding a compact device. It can be set up in any environment and will protect a human from temperatures ranging from -50 to +60 degrees Celsius. It's also radiation resistant and can filter toxic atmospheres. The alien engineers exchanged worried glances. What humans called basic survival gear could allow them to live on worlds that most species considered uninhabitable death traps. And this, J-Min continued, holding up a small weapon, is a standard human sidearm. It fires projectiles at high velocity and can penetrate most known materials. We developed these originally for protection against dangerous wildlife on Earth. The weapon looked primitive compared to alien energy weapons, but the scientists quickly realized that its simple design meant it would work in any environment. No complex power cells to fail, no sophisticated targeting systems to malfunction. Just a reliable tool for killing that would function anywhere in the galaxy. How do you manufacture these items? Asked Dr. Zethok, a nervous insect-like being. Oh, these are mass-produced on Earth. We have automated factories that can make millions of these units per day. Every human ship carries hundreds of them as standard equipment. The aliens sat in stunned silence. Humans were casually producing military-grade survival equipment in quantities that could outfit entire armies, and they called it standard equipment. J-Min moved on to his next demonstration. This is a human exploration probe. We use them to scout potentially habitable worlds before sending colonists. The probe looked innocent enough, a small flying device with sensors and communication equipment. But as J-Min explained its capabilities, the aliens grew more terrified. It can operate for years in any environment, analyze atmospheric composition, map terrain, identify potential threats, and establish communication networks. We've sent thousands of these throughout our local star region. What the aliens heard was that humans had been secretly mapping and analyzing their territory for years, identifying targets and establishing the infrastructure for future expansion. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, Aira was conducting what she thought were friendly trade negotiations. She was a human commerce specialist, eager to establish beneficial relationships between Earth and the galactic community. Earth can offer many valuable resources, Aira explained to the alien trade representatives. We have abundant metals, including some rare elements that might be uncommon in your territories. We're also willing to trade manufactured goods, food products, and raw materials. Thexwan, the lead trade negotiator, studied the list of items Earth wanted in exchange. You're requesting deuterium, plutonium isotopes, and quantum field generators. What do humans need these materials for? Aira smiled innocently. Mostly, for our power systems and manufacturing processes. Humans use a lot of energy, and these materials would help us build more efficient fusion reactors. But Thexwan knew that the same materials could be used to build weapons of incredible destructive power. Humans were requesting exactly what they would need to equip a massive military fleet. And you want information about navigational charts and star system databases? Oh yes, Aira replied enthusiastically. Humans are natural explorers. We'd love to know more about the galaxy and plan future exploration missions. The more we know about what's out there, the better we can prepare for long-range expeditions. To Ara, this was innocent scientific curiosity. To Thexwan, it sounded like humans were gathering intelligence for military conquest, mapping potential targets and escape routes throughout galactic space. The situation grew worse when Minsu made a startling discovery in the station's archives. Working alongside alien historians, he had been translating more of the ancient texts about the legendary Deathworlders. "This is fascinating," Minsu told his alien colleagues. "According to these records, the pack hunters didn't just disappear. They deliberately left the galaxy to explore what the texts call the void beyond the rim." Dr. Kethmore felt his organs freeze with terror. They left voluntarily? Yes, and listen to this passage I just translated. "The Deathworlders grew, restless with the conquered territories, and spoke of greater hunts among distant stars. They took their finest warriors and most terrible weapons and sailed beyond the edge of known space, promising to return when they had found prey worthy of their skills." Minsu looked up from the ancient tablet, excited by his discovery. "It sounds like they were just curious about what was beyond the galaxy. Very much like human nature, actually. We always want to explore new frontiers." But his words filled the alien historians with absolute dread. The Deathworlders hadn't been destroyed or driven away. They had left voluntarily to find new challenges, and now their descendants had returned, 50,000 years later, with advanced technology and generations of experience exploring the most dangerous regions of space. The final straw came when Na Young, a human intelligence officer, gave what she thought was a routine briefing about Earth's information-gathering capabilities. The alien security forces had asked about human surveillance technology, and she was happy to share non-classified information. "Human intelligence gathering is based on multiple redundant systems," Na Young explained to a room full of increasingly panicked alien security officers. "We monitor electromagnetic communications, analyze behavioral patterns, infiltrate target organizations, and maintain extensive databases on potential threats." General Mordain listened with growing horror as the human casually described surveillance, capabilities that exceeded anything the Confederation possessed. "You monitor all communications?" "Within our territory, yes. It's necessary for planetary security. We also gather information about neighboring systems and potential threats. Any species that survives in a hostile galaxy learns to keep track of what's happening around them." Na Young then described human cryptography, counterintelligence operations, and what she called basic security protocols. To her, these were standard defensive measures. To the aliens, they represented the most sophisticated intelligence apparatus in known space. "We've also developed what we call cultural analysis, the ability to quickly understand alien societies and predict their behaviors based on observed patterns. It's very useful for diplomatic relations." General Mordain realized that humans had been analyzing galactic civilization from the moment they arrived, mapping social structures, identifying key decision-makers, and learning how to manipulate alien psychology. What they called cultural analysis was actually preparation for conquest. That night, the Council held another emergency session. The evidence was now overwhelming. Humans were not only the descendants of the Deathworlders, but they were far more dangerous than their legendary ancestors. "Look at what we've learned," Bextar said, displaying his analysis on the chamber's main screen. "They have technology that allows them to survive anywhere in the galaxy. They mass-produce weapons and survival equipment on an industrial scale. They've been gathering intelligence on our territories for years before making contact. And now they want materials that could be used to build planet-killing weapons. But they seem so friendly," protested Fluxara weakly. "Exactly," replied General Mordain. "The ancient Deathworlders were described as savage berserkers who announced their intentions with displays of force. These humans are far more subtle. They smile, they share gifts, they ask polite questions, while systematically gathering everything they need to conquer the galaxy." Zalkith looked around the table at his fellow council members. "The question is no longer whether these are the Deathworlders. The question is, what do we do about it? We could try diplomatic containment, suggested one member. Give them limited territory and hope they stay there. The original Death Worlders conquered hundreds of systems before vanishing, Vextar reminded them. And these humans are far more advanced. If we try to contain them, they'll break free eventually. Then what do you suggest? Zalketh asked grimly. General Mordain activated a classified display showing the Confederation's secret military assets. There is one option. Protocol Nightmare, the ancient contingency plan created after the Death Worlders first vanished. The room fell silent. Protocol Nightmare was the galaxy's ultimate weapon, a plan so terrible that it had never been used, designed specifically for the return of the pack hunters. If we activate Protocol Nightmare, Mordain continued, we can mobilize the combined fleets of 12 species and strike at the Death Worlders before they have time to prepare their defenses. It would mean the Compoli. Ambassador Sora stood before the full council assembly, completely unaware of the tension that filled the great chamber. She had prepared a presentation about Earth's history and culture, hoping to help the aliens understand humanity better. Thank you for this opportunity to share our story. She began with a warm smile. I know some of our customs might seem strange to you, but I hope this will help explain how humans became who we are today. The council members sat rigid in their seats. Vextar had shared his discoveries with them in private sessions over the past few days. Now they watched the human diplomat with a mixture of fascination and growing horror. Let me start with Earth's early history, Sora continued, activating a holographic display. Our planet went through many difficult periods. We had ice ages that lasted thousands of years, volcanic eruptions that covered continents in ash, and massive floods that reshaped our world. She paused, not noticing how several council members had begun to shake. To her, these were just interesting geological facts. To them, she was describing a world so hostile that most species would never have survived, let alone thrived. But humans are adaptable, Sora said proudly. We learned to make fire to stay warm, create tools to hunt and build shelter, and work together to survive. No matter how harsh the conditions became, we found ways to keep going. Zalketh leaned forward, his multiple eyes focused intently on the human. When you say hunt, what exactly do you mean? Sora blinked in surprise at the question. Well, hunting for food, of course. Early humans hunted animals like mammoths, deer, and wild boar. We used spears, bows, and traps. Sometimes we would chase animals for days until they got tired enough for us to catch them. The chamber fell deadly silent. The ancient texts had described exactly this. Persistence hunting across vast distances, the pack hunters of legend. Days? Whispered one council member. You chased prey for days? Oh yes, Sora replied cheerfully. Humans are excellent long-distance runners. We can keep going when most animals have to stop to rest. It's one of our natural abilities. She continued her presentation, describing how humans had spread across Earth, adapting to every environment from frozen Arctic regions to burning deserts. She talked about human wars as if they were minor disputes, not realizing that what she described as territorial conflicts were battles more brutal than anything most galactic species had ever imagined. Our species learned a lot from our early conflicts, Sora explained. We developed better weapons, improved our tactics, and learned to organize large groups of warriors. By the time we developed agriculture and built cities, we had become very good at both war and peace. Council member Fluxara raised a wavering appendage. You said better weapons. What kind of weapons? Sora activated another holographic display showing human military history. We started with simple stone tools, then moved to bronze and iron. We invented bows that could shoot arrows over long distances, swords for close combat, and later gunpowder weapons. Eventually, we developed nuclear weapons and guided missiles. The display showed images of human warriors throughout history, from ancient hunters with spears to modern soldiers with advanced equipment. To Sora, it was a proud record of human ingenuity. To the council, it looked like a catalog of nightmare weapons designed by master killers. You developed nuclear weapons? Zalketh asked, his voice barely audible. Yes, though we only used them twice in warfare. We quickly realized they were too dangerous and agreed to limit their use. Sora smiled reassuringly. Humans learn from our mistakes. But her words had the opposite effect. The council members realized that humans had created weapons capable of destroying planets, used them in actual combat, and then had the discipline to stop using them. This wasn't primitive behavior. This was the calculated restraint of apex predators who understood exactly how dangerous they were. In another part of the station, human cultural attaché Heywan was giving a different presentation to a group of alien sociologists. She was explaining Earth's natural environment, unaware that every word she spoke was confirming the aliens' worst fears. Earth is really a beautiful but challenging world, Heywan said, showing images of Earth's landscapes. We have predators like lions, tigers, bears, and sharks. Most of our major land masses have dangerous animals that can kill humans easily. Dr. Kethmore, who had been working with Minsu on the ancient translations, felt his blood grow cold. And humans live alongside these predators? Of course, we've learned to coexist with them. Sometimes we have to defend ourselves, and sometimes we hunt them if they become too dangerous to local populations. But mostly, we just stay out of their way and let them live their lives. The alien sociologist exchanged terrified glances. Heywan was casually describing a world where apex predators were so common that humans considered them a normal part of daily life. A world where humans not only survived alongside such creatures, but actually hunted them when necessary. What about your oceans? Asked another alien scientist. Oh, they're full of life too, Heywan said enthusiastically. We have whales, dolphins, giant squids, and thousands of species of sharks. Humans have been sailing and fishing in these waters for thousands of years. We've explored every ocean on our planet, from the surface to the deepest trenches. She showed images of human divers swimming with sharks, fishermen working in stormy seas, and submarines exploring the deepest parts of Earth's oceans. To her, these were examples of human curiosity and bravery. To the aliens, they were proof that humans were so confident in their predatory abilities that they voluntarily entered environments filled with other apex predators. Back in the main council chamber, Sora had moved on to discussing human space exploration. We've always been curious about what lies beyond our world. Even before we developed space travel, we built telescopes to study the stars. When we finally reached our moon, we didn't stop there. We sent probes to every planet in our solar system and beyond. Why? Asked Zalketh. Why not be content with your own world? Sora looked puzzled by the question. Because there's so much to explore and learn. Humans have a saying, the universe is vast and full of wonders. We want to see them all, meet new species, and discover new knowledge. But to the council, her words had a different meaning. They heard a species that had already conquered the most dangerous planet in known space, and was now looking for new worlds to explore, and possibly new prey to hunt. The final shock came when Teho, a human military advisor, was asked to brief the council on Earth's defense capabilities. He had been invited to discuss how humans might contribute to galactic security, but his presentation became something very different. Human military doctrine is based on adaptability and persistence, Teho explained to a room full of increasingly terrified alien military officers. We study our opponents, learn their weaknesses, and then apply overwhelming force at the decisive moment. He showed tactical displays from what humans called minor conflicts, their world wars, civil wars, and regional disputes. The alien officers watched in horror as human armies demonstrated tactical flexibility, technological innovation, and a willingness to fight under conditions that would break most other species. This conflict here, Teho pointed to a display showing World War II, involved over 100 million beings across multiple continents. It lasted 6 Earth years and ended only when one side developed weapons capable of destroying entire cities in seconds. The alien officers sat in stunned silence. What humans considered a historical conflict involved casualty numbers that exceeded the total population of most galactic species. And you call this a minor conflict? Asked General Mordain, the station's security chief. Well, it was serious at the time, Teho admitted. But humans learned a lot from it. We developed better international laws, improved our peacekeeping institutions, and created systems to prevent such large-scale conflicts from happening again. Again, his reassurance had the opposite effect. The aliens realized that humans had fought wars that would be considered galactic catastrophes, learned from them, and then built systems to make their future conflicts more efficient and controlled. That evening, the council held an emergency session behind closed doors. Vextar presented his final analysis, and the evidence was overwhelming. There can be no doubt, he concluded. The humans are the descendants of the Death Worlders. Every piece of evidence confirms it. Their planet matches the ancient coordinates. Their physical characteristics match the legendary descriptions. Their casual references to surviving in hostile environments, hunting dangerous prey, and fighting massive wars, it all fits. But they seem so peaceful, protested one council member. So genuinely friendly. Think about it, Vextar replied, grimly. The legends say the Death Worlders were incredibly intelligent. What if this peaceful appearance is exactly what makes them so dangerous? They've studied us for days now, learned our languages, observed our technologies, and mapped our station. They know everything about us while we're still trying to figure out what they are. Zalketh looked around the table at his fellow council members. The question now is, what do we do about it? Maybe they really have changed, suggested Gruthan. Maybe 50,000 years of exploration has made them genuinely peaceful. Captain Jinho stood on the bridge of the Harmony's edge, watching the massive alien space station grow larger on the main screen. His hands were steady, but his heart raced with excitement. This was it. Humanity's first real contact with other, intelligent life in the galaxy. Captain, they're sending us docking instructions, said his communications officer, a young woman named Yuna. Her voice carried the same mix of wonder and nervousness that everyone felt. Thank you, Yuna. Follow their directions exactly. We don't want to make any mistakes on our first day. Jinho smiled at his crew. Remember, everyone, we're here to make friends. Earth is counting on us to show that humans are peaceful people who just want to learn and trade. The alien station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. It sparkled with lights of colors that human eyes had never seen before. Ships of strange shapes moved around it like fish in an ocean. Some were long and thin like needles. Others were round like bubbles. A few looked like they were made of crystal. Look at that, whispered Taeyong, the ship's engineer. I wonder how they make their ships glow like that. Jinho nodded. Everything here was so advanced compared to human technology. Earth's best spaceships looked like toys next to these alien vessels. But that was okay. Humans were here to learn, not to compete. The docking went smoothly. Soon, Jinho found himself walking through a long tube that connected his ship to the station. The walls were made of some kind of metal that seemed to move like liquid but felt solid when he touched it. Strange symbols glowed softly along the sides. At the end of the tube, 3 aliens waited for him. Jinho tried not to stare, but it was hard. The first alien looked like a giant bird with 4 arms and silver feathers. The second was more like a walking tree with bark-like skin and eyes that glowed green. The third was the strangest of all. It seemed to be made of flowing water held together by some invisible force. Welcome, beings of Earth, said the bird-like alien. Its voice came from a small device hanging around its neck. I am Council Member Veltar. These are my colleagues, Gruthan and Fluxara. We represent the Galactic Confederation. Jinho bowed slightly the way he had practiced. Thank you for meeting with us. I am Captain Jinho of the human vessel Harmony's Edge. We bring greetings from Earth and hope for friendship between our peoples. The 3 aliens looked at each other. Jinho couldn't read their expressions, but something passed between them. Maybe they were just as nervous as he was. Follow us, said Gruthan, the tree-like alien. The council wishes to meet your diplomat. They walked through corridors that changed color as they moved. The walls seemed alive, pulsing gently with soft light. Other aliens stopped to stare at Jinho as he passed. He saw creatures with too many eyes, beings that floated instead of walking, and things that looked like living rocks. Don't be afraid of their stares, Fluxara said, noticing Jinho's discomfort. Most of us have never seen a human before. You are quite unusual. Unusual how? Jinho asked. Your shape, for one thing. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, very symmetrical. And your skin looks so soft. Most space-traveling species develop harder outer coverings. Jinho looked down at his hands. He had never thought of human skin as particularly soft, but compared to the bark-like skin of Gruthan or the metal feathers of Veltar, maybe it was. They arrived at a large room filled with aliens of every shape and size imaginable. At the center sat 12 beings around a circular table that floated in the air. This had to be the famous Council of 12 Species that ruled the Galactic Confederation. Honored Council, Veltar announced. I present Captain Jinho of the humans from the world they call Earth. One of the council members stood up. It looked like a giant insect with crystal wings and multiple eyes. Welcome, human Jinho. I am... First speaker Zalketh. We have heard much about your species from the reports of those who first encountered your ships. Jinho bowed again. Thank you, first speaker. We are honored to be here. Earth sends its friendship and hopes to join the peaceful community of the galaxy. Tell us about your world, said another council member, this one shaped like a floating jellyfish. What is Earth like? Jinho's face lit up. This was something he loved talking about. Earth is beautiful. We have vast oceans full of life, and continents covered with forests, mountains, and plains. Our world has many different environments. Hot deserts, cold frozen lands, thick jungles, and wide grasslands. Humans live everywhere on our planet. The council members exchanged glances again. Zalketh leaned forward. Everywhere? Even in the dangerous places? Well, yes, Jinho said, confused by the question. Humans are pretty good at adapting. We've built cities in deserts, on mountains, even in the frozen parts of our world. We go where we need to go. A small alien that looked like a walking mushroom spoke up. And what do humans eat? Jinho smiled. Oh, all kinds of things. Plants, fruits, vegetables. We also eat animals. Fish from the oceans, birds, cattle that we raise on farms. Pretty much anything that grows or lives on Earth, humans can eat. The room fell silent. Jinho looked around, wondering if he had said something wrong. The aliens were all staring at him with expressions he couldn't read. You eat other living things? Asked the jellyfish-like being. Well, yes. Don't you? Jinho was genuinely surprised. I mean, everyone has to eat something. Many of us only consume minerals or energy, Zalketh explained carefully. The few species that consume other life forms usually eat only plants or very simple creatures. It is considered primitive to consume complex life forms. Jinho felt his face grow hot with embarrassment. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. On Earth, that's just how life works. Everything eats something else. It's natural for us. Natural, repeated one of the council members in a whisper. Veltar stepped forward. Perhaps we should continue this conversation later. The human has traveled far and must be tired. Of course, Zalketh agreed. Captain Jinho, we will prepare quarters for you and your crew. Tomorrow, we will meet with your diplomat and discuss how Earth might join our confederation. As Jinho was led away, he heard the council members begin to talk in hushed tones. He caught a few words that his translation device picked up. Primitive, predator, and something that sounded like Death World. But he pushed those worries aside. First contact was always difficult. These were just cultural differences. Once Ambassador Sora arrived with the diplomatic team, everything would be fine. That night, Jinho lay in his quarters looking out at the stars through a window that seemed to be made of solidified light. Earth was out there somewhere, a tiny blue dot waiting to hear how humanity's first meeting with galactic civilization had gone. He thought about his conversation with the council. Maybe humans were a bit different from other species, but that wasn't necessarily bad. Diversity was good, right? Every species brought something unique to the galactic community. Jinho smiled and closed his eyes. Tomorrow would bring new wonders and new friendships. He was sure of it. Far across the station, in a secure conference room, the Council of 12 was having a very different kind of meeting. Zalketh looked around the table at his fellow council members. "Well?" he asked. "What do you think?" "They seem peaceful enough," said one member. "Naive, even. Like children who have just learned to walk among the stars." "But did you hear what they said about their world?" asked another. "They live everywhere on their planet, even in dangerous places, and they eat other complex life forms." Veltar nodded grimly. "I've seen their physical scans. They have forward-facing eyes, sharp teeth, and dense muscle structure. These are the characteristics of predators. Predators can be peaceful," Zalketh said, but his voice carried doubt. "Many species evolved from hunters but learned to live in harmony." "Perhaps," said the jellyfish-like being, "but I think we should investigate these humans more carefully. There's something about them that feels familiar, and not in a good way." In another part of the station, a lone figure worked late into the night. Vextar was the Confederation's chief xenobiologist, and something about the humans bothered him. He pulled up ancient records, searching through databases that hadn't been accessed in thousands of years. Somewhere in these files was information about a species that had terrorized the galaxy long ago. A species that had vanished mysteriously, leaving behind only legends and warnings. As he searched, Vextar couldn't shake the feeling that Earth's children had come home. 3 days after the first meeting, Ambassador Sora arrived with a full diplomatic team from Earth. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a warm smile that seemed to put everyone at ease. Even the strangest aliens found themselves relaxing around her. "Thank you for welcoming humanity into your community," Sora said to the council during her first official meeting. "We know we have much to learn, and we're grateful for your patience with us." The council members nodded politely, but several of them kept glancing at a small alien sitting in the corner. Vextar had been working day and night since the humans arrived, and dark circles under his eyes showed his exhaustion. "Tell us more about human history," Zalketh requested. "How did your species develop space travel?" Sora's eyes sparkled with pride. "Humans have always been explorers. Even when we were primitive, we spread across our entire planet. We've always wanted to see what was beyond the next hill, across the next ocean, or above the next sky." "And you did this peacefully?" asked one council member. Sora paused for a moment. "Well, not always. Humans have had their conflicts throughout history. We fought wars, competed for resources, and sometimes disagreed about how to live. But we've learned from our mistakes. That's why we're here peacefully now." In another part of the station, a different conversation was taking place. Min Su, a human historian, worked alongside alien archaeologists in the station's vast library. They were studying ancient ruins found on a distant world, trying to translate writing that was thousands of years old. "This symbol here," said Dr. Kethmore, pointing to a carving on a stone tablet. "My people's legends say it means the hungry ones or those who consume, but the context doesn't make sense." Min Su studied the symbol carefully. "It looks familiar somehow. Maybe it's similar to some ancient Earth writing systems I've studied." Together they worked through the translation. Slowly, a story began to emerge from the ancient stones. It told of a great terror that had swept across the galaxy long ago. Beings from a burning world who hunted other species for sport and food. "Listen to this," Minsu read aloud. "The pack hunters came from the crucible of monsters walking on 2 legs like tools of death. Their eyes faced forward like all killers, and their teeth could tear flesh from bone. They ran their prey to exhaustion across vast distances, never stopping, never tiring." Kethmore shivered even though his species had no concept of cold. "It's just an old story. These creatures vanished long ago, if they ever existed at all." But Minsu felt a strange chill as he read. The description reminded him of something, though he couldn't quite place what. Meanwhile, in the station's engineering section, Yujin was having the time of her life. The alien technology was amazing, and the engineers were happy to share their knowledge with someone so eager to learn. "This is impossible," muttered Zarketh, a crystal-based engineer who had been working on a broken reactor for weeks. "The power flow is completely blocked, but we can't find the problem." Yujin looked at the complex machine with its glowing conduits and floating components. To her, it wasn't that different from the fusion reactors back on Earth, just more advanced. "Have you checked the resonance frequency of the crystal matrix?" she asked. "Of course," Zarketh replied. "That was the first thing we tested. But what about harmonic interference? If two crystals are vibrating at frequencies that cancel each other out?" Yujin walked over to the reactor and began examining it with fresh eyes. Within minutes, she found the problem. A tiny crystal that had shifted out of alignment, creating a feedback loop that blocked the entire system. "There," she said, adjusting the crystal with a simple tool. "Try it now." The reactor hummed to life, its power output immediately jumping to normal levels. The alien engineers stared in amazement. "How did you see that so quickly?" Zarketh asked. "We've been working on this for 23 cycles," Yujin shrugged. "I guess humans are good at seeing patterns and solving problems. Back on Earth, we're always fixing things that break. We have to be. Our world has lots of dangerous environments where equipment failure can kill you." The engineering team exchanged worried glances. Another reference to Earth as a dangerous place where survival required constant vigilance and problem-solving skills. Late that night, Vextar made a discovery that chilled him to his core. Deep in the ancient databases, he found a star chart that was 50,000 years old. It showed the location of the legendary Death World, the planet where the mythical pack hunters had originated. With shaking appendages, he compared it to the coordinates humans had given for their homeworld. They were identical. Vextar sat in stunned silence for a long moment. Then he began pulling up every piece of information he could find about the legendary Deathworlders. The stories were fragmentary and ancient, but they painted a terrifying picture. The Deathworlders were said to be the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever known. Unlike other predators who hunted for food, these beings seemed to hunt for the joy of it. They turned warfare into an art form and could survive in environments that would kill most other species instantly. According to legend, they had conquered dozens of star systems before mysteriously vanishing. No one knew what had happened to them. Some said they had destroyed themselves in their endless wars. Others believed they had simply grown bored with the galaxy and left to find new challenges among the stars. But what if they hadn't left? What if they had simply been exploring, learning, growing stronger? What if they were the ancestors of these seemingly innocent humans? Vextar studied human physiology reports with new eyes. Humans had forward-facing predator eyes, just like the legends described. They had dense bone structure and powerful muscles that would allow them to survive high-gravity environments. Their teeth were designed for tearing and grinding, omnivore teeth that could handle both plants and meat. Most disturbing of all, humans showed all the signs of persistence hunters, predators who caught their prey by chasing it until it collapsed from exhaustion. Their upright posture, efficient cooling system, and incredible endurance were all adaptations for this type of hunting. The next morning, Vextar requested an urgent meeting with the council. He arrived carrying data pads filled with his research, his face grim with the weight of his discovery. "Honored council," he began, "I have made a disturbing connection about our human guests." Zalketh looked up from the reports about human engineering capabilities. "What kind of connection?" "The coordinates they gave us for Earth. They match ancient records for a planet the old texts call the Crucible of Monsters. Earth is the death world of legend." Silence fell over the council chamber. Several members began to tremble, as much as their various anatomies allowed. "Are you certain?" whispered the jellyfish-like being. "I've checked and rechecked. There's no doubt. And look at this." Vextar activated a holographic display showing human anatomy. Everything matches the legendary descriptions. They are persistence hunters, just like the stories say. They can survive in environments that would kill most of us. They eat other, complex life forms without hesitation. "But they seem so peaceful," protested one council member. "So naive and friendly." "Perhaps," Vextar replied. "But consider this. The Deathworlders were said to be highly intelligent. What if their friendliness is just another hunting strategy? What if they're studying us, learning our weaknesses?" Council member Groot Han spoke up for the first time. My species has some of the oldest records in the galaxy. We have stories about the pack hunters that we tell our seedlings as warnings. They say the Death Worlders were masters of deception, that they could appear harmless until the moment they struck. That's just legend, Zalketh said, but his voice lacked conviction. Is it? Vextar pulled up another file. Yesterday, a human engineer solved a problem that had puzzled our best minds for weeks. She did it in minutes, as casually as breathing. Today, their historian helped translate ancient texts that have been indecipherable for centuries. These aren't the actions of a primitive species. Maybe they're just naturally gifted, suggested another council member. Or maybe, Vextar said grimly, they're exactly what the legends warned us about. The most dangerous predators in the galaxy, returned from whatever distant hunting ground they've been exploring for the last 50,000 years. The council sat in stunned silence, each member lost in their own thoughts. Through the great windows of the chamber, they could see human ships docking with the station, more Earth vessels arriving every day, bringing diplomats, scientists, and traders, ships full of beings who might be the descendants of the galaxy's greatest nightmare. In the human quarters, Sora was having tea with several alien diplomats, charming them with stories of Earth's diverse cultures and beautiful landscapes. She had no idea that with every word she spoke, she was confirming their worst fears about humanity's true nature. The galaxy was about to remember why some worlds should remain hidden among the stars. I've discovered why the aliens attacked us. They believe we're the descendants of a species that terrorize Admiral Wu Jin stood in the command center of Earth's newest warship, the Retribution, watching star charts that showed the positions of alien fleets throughout the galaxy. 3 months had passed since the attack on the human convoy and everything had changed. Admiral, reported his tactical officer Seok-ho. We've confirmed the positions of 17 alien battle fleets. They're maintaining defensive formations around their core worlds, but they're not advancing into human space. Good, Wu Jin replied. Fear is a useful tool. How are our deep strike operations progressing? The Silent Hunter has successfully infiltrated the Vegan system. Captain Gihun reports that their fleet is in complete disarray. They're jumping at shadows and firing on their own ships. Wu Jin nodded grimly. The aliens had made a critical error when they attacked human ships. Without provocation, they had awakened something that humanity had worked for centuries to control, their instinctive response to existential threats. The transformation had been swift and terrifying to observe. Within days of the first attack, human colonies throughout known space had shifted from peaceful exploration to total war preparation. Ships that had been carrying families and farming equipment were retrofitted with weapons systems. Trade vessels became intelligence-gathering platforms. Scientists became weapons designers. But most frightening of all was how easily humans had adapted to thinking like predators again. Sir, another officer reported, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Confederation. They're requesting a ceasefire and offering to negotiate. Put it through, Wu Jin ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing the familiar insectoid features of first speaker Zalketh. The alien leader looked exhausted and defeated, a far cry from the confident figure who had welcomed humanity to the galactic community just months before. Admiral Wu Jin, Zalketh began, his voice barely steady. On behalf of the Galactic Confederation, I formally request an immediate ceasefire and opening of peace negotiations. Wu Jin studied the alien's face carefully. That's interesting, first speaker. When we first met, you welcomed us as peaceful neighbors. When your fleets attacked our ships without warning, you called us Death Worlders and monsters. Now you want peace again. I'm curious about what changed your mind. Zalketh's multiple eyes closed in what might have been shame. We made a mistake. Our fear overcame our judgment. We attacked you based on ancient legends and paranoid assumptions. You attacked us, Wu Jin corrected coldly, because you correctly identified what we were. The problem wasn't your intelligence, it was your timing. You should have struck 50,000 years ago when we were still learning. Now it's too late. The psychological warfare specialist Seok-ho had suggested this approach. Let the aliens understand that humanity had always been exactly what they feared. but that their attack had simply reminded humans of their true nature. "Please," Zalketh pleaded. "We know we made an error, but surely we can find a peaceful solution. Your species claimed to want peace and friendship." "We did want peace," Wujin replied. "But you taught us an important lesson about galactic politics. You showed us that the moment other species discover what we are, they'll try to destroy us. So now we have to ask ourselves, is it safer to hide among you? Or to make sure you're too afraid to threaten us ever again?" What the aliens didn't know was that this conversation was being broadcast throughout human space. Every human colony, every human ship, every human research station was listening as their admiral delivered humanity's new doctrine to the galaxy. In the background, Earth's transformation continued at an incredible pace. The planet that aliens had mistaken for a peaceful agricultural world revealed its true nature as the most militarized fortress in known space. Captain Gihun reported in from his deep reconnaissance mission. "Admiral, you need to see this intelligence data. The aliens have been preparing for our return for thousands of years. They have weapons designed specifically to fight Deathworlders, fleets positioned to respond to our emergence, and contingency plans for the complete evacuation of their core worlds." "Show me," Wujin ordered. The tactical display revealed the scope of alien preparations. Secret military installations, hidden fleets, weapons caches distributed throughout their territory, all designed for one purpose: fighting the legendary Deathworlders if they ever returned. "They've been afraid of us for 50,000 years, Gihun continued. "Every species in the Confederation has stories about the pack hunters. Every military academy teaches courses on Deathworlder tactics. Every defensive installation was built with us in mind." Wujin smiled grimly. "Then they understand exactly what we are. Good. That makes this easier." He turned back to the communication with Zalketh. "First speaker, I want you to understand something. You spent 50,000 years preparing for our return. You built weapons, trained armies, and created alliances specifically to fight us. You turned the entire galaxy into a fortress designed to keep the Deathworlders out." Zalketh said nothing, but his expression confirmed the truth. "The problem," Wujin continued, "is that all your preparations were based on the Deathworlders. You remembered? Primitive hunters with stone tools and bronze weapons. You didn't prepare for what we became during our 50,000 years of exploration." He activated a display showing human military capabilities. Not the improvised defenses they had used during the first attack, but the true strength of a species that had spent millennia conquering the most dangerous environments in the universe. "We didn't spend those 50,000 years sitting peacefully on our home world," Wujin explained. "We explored every hostile environment we could find. We fought wars against nature itself on worlds that would kill your people in seconds. We learned to survive in the vacuum of space, in the hearts of stars, in the crushing depths of gas giants." The MOM display showed images that made Zalketh tremble. Human cities built inside active volcanoes, human colonies thriving in the radiation fields of neutron stars, human ships diving into the coronas of dying suns to harvest exotic matter. Every challenge made us stronger. Every hostile environment taught us new ways to kill and new ways to survive. And now you've forced us to remember that other species are just another hostile environment to be conquered. From across human space, reports continued to flow in. Captain Du Young had captured an entire alien battle fleet without firing a shot. He had simply maneuvered them into a position where they faced certain destruction and then offered them surrender as an alternative. Captain Hyunwoo's colony ships had been converted into mobile factories that could produce weapons of war faster than most species could build toys. But the most devastating report came from a human ship that most aliens had never noticed. A small research vessel commanded by Dr. Minsu, the historian who had helped translate ancient texts on the Confederation station. "Admiral," Minsu reported, "I've completed my analysis of galactic civilization. I now understand why the legends about Deathworlders were so terrifying." "Explain," Wujin ordered. "The species that dominated the galaxy 50,000 years? Ego were apex predators, but they were also highly intelligent pack hunters. The combination made them unstoppable. They could outthink their prey and coordinate attacks that no other species could counter." Minsu paused, gathering his thoughts. But Admiral, our ancestors weren't trying to conquer the galaxy. According to the ancient records I've translated, they were trying to find worthy opponents. Every species they encountered was too weak to provide a real challenge. The implications hit Wu Jin immediately. They left because they were bored. Exactly. The Deathworlders didn't disappear because they were defeated or because they destroyed themselves. They left because galactic civilization was too primitive to interest them. They went looking for real challenges among the stars. Wu Jin turned back to his conversation with Zalketh, and his expression had changed. The cold anger was gone, replaced by something far more terrifying, the calm assessment of a predator evaluating prey. First speaker, I've just learned something interesting about my species' history. It seems our ancestors didn't leave the galaxy because you drove them out. They left because you bored them. Zalketh's face went completely pale. 50,000 years ago, you were too primitive to be worth conquering. Now, after all this time to develop and grow, you're still too primitive to be worth conquering. Do you understand how disappointing that is? Around the galaxy, alien fleets began to panic as they realized the true meaning of Wu Jin's words. The Deathworlders hadn't returned as conquerors. They had returned as explorers who discovered that their old hunting ground was still populated by the same weak prey they had left behind millennia ago. However, Wu Jin continued, you did teach us something valuable. You showed us that the galaxy is still afraid of us. That fear is useful. It means we don't have to waste time conquering you. We can simply rule through terror. He activated another display, this one showing the current positions of human ships throughout galactic space. Unknown to the aliens, humans had been infiltrating their territory for months, placing ships in position to strike at any target in the galaxy within hours. Here, a